why this law came into force.
So yeah,
from the beginning, from Hungarian Card and also the EU Blue Card, they are really a strong residence permit. Yeah, so for the Hungarian card, you need to have a high qualification.
Residence for the employment, the third type, yes.
The name is really the same, but it will not be the same in the new law.
The EU Blue Card is going to be one of the most attractive one. Let's talk about the cultural exam. But you cannot change it from one temporary to another temporary.
Yeah, it's like this.
This topic, this specifically the episode, is very relevant.
It's a very hot topic, you can say.
It is a hot topic. Yeah, it is a hot topic. What's it? Okay. So, focus on нормально везде? Focus. Yeah, so welcome. My name is Diaz. Hey guys, this is the New Day podcast, episode 4. And today our guest is Alexandra Makk. Makk. Right. I know that you studied abroad and you studied law. So we have a person who specifically can answer the questions regarding the new law in Hungary. So this is going to be the topic of our discussion today. And I'll give the microphone to you.
Thank you very much. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. I really like the idea because I think it's a very important thing that you support the foreigners here in Hungary, even if they are students or even if they are workers here. So I really like this idea. And yeah, as you said, thank you very much. I'm a lawyer. I studied here in Hungary first. I got my master here at ELTE, and then after that I had my master degree in Germany. Mm-hmm. And I also had one semester in Vienna as an Erasmus student. So you can say that I'm quite familiar with international students or international topics the communities. Yeah, I have also many international friends. Especially also third country nationals, so
got it.
I can feel that
the
now
pain,
it's
right?
exactly, right? and I know that like your life can depend on all of this residence permit issues. So yeah, I
just
totally
the color
understand.
of your passport changes your life.
Yeah.
yeah. We can philosophize about this topic forever, but I'm just wanted to ask. Do you practice like especially the immigration cases, or is it?
I've worked in law office before, and we also had some residence permit applications. But now I work for a company, a German company. So this is actually now not my field, you can say. Mm-hmm. But this topic was always close to my heart, and also during the university, I was doing some research on this field, you can say, and Yeah, so I wanted to help to foreigners. That's why I also uploaded these videos on TikTok channel.
Yeah, check out. We will have this lower thirds that we're gonna come up, and this is gonna be the link to the TikTok of Alexandra, who makes the best TikToks if you want to find information about the new immigration law. And yeah, so the point of our discussion is going to be the immigration law, but we just want to emphasize that this is the person that has the certain qualification to answer these questions, and we prepared a list of questions from you guys. We also gathered them, and we want to. This is going to be not a typical New Day podcast that we have, but it's going to be more as a guide, as a kind of an interview where because the new law is big, we cannot cover it all. Yeah. We will have the overview of this law, and hopefully just address some misunderstandings, some unclear things. And let's start from like the basic understanding, like what are the new residence permit types that are available from the January 2024?
Okay, first I think it's better if we just start like why this law came into force. From the beginning, from
why
from
this
zero.
Law came, right? Why this law came? This actually is.
So actually, we had an immigration law from 2007, which regulated the residence permit applications for third country nationals, how they can enter Hungary, and so on and so on. And now it's 2024. So if you just calculate, it's like 17 years, right? And during these 17 years, so many things happened in the world, also in Hungary, also in Europe. And I think, of course, when we had this previous law, there was an established case law, about the residence permit applications, about the immigration law itself. And now I think not only the lawyers, but also the immigration authority and any authorities, they are not in a very easy situation because, we have to now apply a totally new law. We have new types of residence permits. We have new rules. So, of course, it will take time. So it will need time that the practice will be developed, like as it happened with the old or previous law. But I think it's normal with, all significant legal acts, you can say. And so if you check the bill, because, the bill is uploaded on the official webpage of the parliament, so anyone can check it and read. Unfortunately, it's available in Hungarian language, but you can check it. And
in English,
unfortunately, in English it's not available, but in Hungarian.
But I've seen some people, they were uploading like the translation of this law. I mean,
but the bill itself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's great. I mean, officially, I didn't check the English version. I don't know how is the translation. But the official one, the bill that was uploaded, it's in Hungarian language.
Yeah. I've also like seen that it's uploaded on the parliament page.
But it's great if the foreigners knew it, because it's also something that I always think about, that here are foreigners and they don't speak Hungarian many times. So there is a new law, even it's just a bill, but it's not in English language. So how you will understand, like, okay, what's going on around me, So this was also a reason why I started to upload these videos on TikTok, for example.
You started off just right after the bill passed, right?
I mean, exactly, because, they submitted this bill on, I think, 14th of November, but in mid of November somehow, And then they adopted this 21st, I think, of December, right?
Yeah,
so it's before Christmas, before New Year's Eve, and everything is closed.
The time was crazy, actually. Everyone was so obsessed with this new law, and like there were so many discussions, so many misunderstanding. Now it's a little bit clear, but not so clear, I would say.
Yeah. And as I also remember that many third country nationals, they just tried to use the last 1 or 2 weeks, before the New Year's Eve, that okay, now we have to submit our residence permit application if we can. So it was not an easy time. So, but if you check the bill, there is also an explanatory memorandum in this bill, which says
appendix, right?
You can read it. Yeah, it's actually always behind the sections where they also they try to give an explanation why they adopted this law, and also what is the explanation of each sections, you can say. And I would just point out some approaches from this bill. So this bill was submitted by the government. This is also an important information, because it means that also the approach of the government will be manifested here, So in this memorandum, you can read that because of the illegal migration, what is here right now in Europe, so not only about Hungary. So they wanted to actually have stricter rules, and the thing is that they don't think, or the government thinks, that they cannot retain these rules anymore as it was before. And of course it can be seen in the new rules, so how you can submit an application, or what kind of applications or residence permits you have now. I mean, everything can be seen, that the system indeed became stricter.
Yeah, it became stricter.
Yeah. So this is the first reason, I would say. Of course, the immigration law the Hungarian immigration law is affected by the EU legislation. So also Hungary has to implement EU directives like any other member states of the EU. But for example, EU Blue Card we had also before, so we implemented already this EU directive on the EU Blue Card, and so on and so on. But from this bill, you can see that the main purpose was how to protect the Hungarian population against illegal migration, you can say. And
Maybe the saturation of the job market as well. Maybe that was kind of the reasons as well.
In this bill, what I said now, what I mentioned, it was written there. So that's why I wanted to precisely
the points out what was
point out like what is the main reason.
Yeah, it is. Okay, got it. Yeah, we in this podcast we don't want to touch on any political points here,
Yeah.
and we just want to get the clear
Yeah.
understanding of what is the reality, what is now, what we have to deal with, and so yeah, so we said that this law passed. So the new law passed just January 2024, and
It came into force in January.
it came into force in January 2024, and so the people who the first question is, I would say, maybe the people who submitted in this last week of 2023 their application, the residence permit application, be when they're going to extend their application, are they going to consider it as the people who submitted it by the past law, the previous law, or the new law? So this would...
Yeah, so if a third country national just submitted the application before 1st of January, that time, of course, the previous law was in force, so the immigration authority will issue the residence permit according to the previous law, not according to the new law. So it's sure that if you submitted your residence permit application on, 27th of December, then you are safe, you can say, and your residence permit application will be issued according to the previous law.
But it makes it a little bit difficult for the government to do, because they're going to be they're going to do the double paperwork.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, I wouldn't be now in the situation of the immigration authority officers or even the labor authority, because now for maybe 1 or 2 years, there will be two types of residence permits, one that was issued according to the previous law, one and according to the new law. And also between January, February, you were not allowed to submit residence permit applications in general. There were maybe some exceptions, but in general you couldn't submit applications. And also if these residence permits that they were issued according to the previous law, but they expired, for example, in January or in February, it is fine because they will be extended until the end of April. So just to be sure that
we are still
don't
safe
panic.
About it. Do not panic about this. So if we was just starting to discuss the new law, so after the January 1st, 2024, there are basically 4 types of residence permit that people can obtain. Right?
Actually, not really, because in general, so there are 2 categories of residence permit applications. So the first one is, you can call this category as temporary residence permits, and the second one is permanent residence permits. So, for example, if we just mention the permanent residence permits, in the previous law, it was the national permanent residence permit, EC permanent residence permit. Maybe you remember these names. In the new law, we have also this kind of residence permits, but the name is different. So now the national permanent residence permit is called National Residence Card, and the EC permanent residence permit is now the EU Residence Card.
Okay, got it. So these are permanent.
Yeah, this is the permanent one.
And they have
and then the temporary
have their requirements.
Of course, yeah. And in the category of temporary residence permits, we have new types of residence permits. We have some residence permits that were also in the previous law. Then we have also one special residence permit, which is actually with the same name, but you have to be careful if you apply for this residence permit because it's not the same as it was in the previous law. This is the residence permit for employment purposes.
Okay, this is the one that affected the most after the new law passed.
Yeah, because in the previous law, most of the people, they applied for the residence permit for employment purposes. Yes. But of course, also according to the previous law, you could apply for the EU Blue Card. So the EU Blue Card is not something totally new, you can say, in the system. But maybe it was not so popular among the foreigners, or I don't know why. Maybe this is the reason. But I think also the EU Blue Card, I think it will increase now. There will be more applicants who will apply for the EU Blue Card.
Obviously. So just to list them, so there is for the temporary ones.
Yeah.
There is a
Hungarian card, for example.
Card, the Magyar Kártya.
Yeah, it's Magyar Kártya, yeah. Then also we have the guest worker residence permit.
Guest worker, okay.
But this is a very specific one.
Yeah,
so it's for specific citizens with specific employers. So I would say that it will not affect too much the third country nationals.
Yeah, for the people who are already here in Hungary.
Yeah.
Who study here and who going to finish or is studying in
Yeah,
Hungarian
what is
university.
really important for third country nationals, especially if they have university degree,
Yeah.
is the Hungarian card, the EU blue card, and if these two other options will not work, then the residence permit for employment
For
purposes.
employment. Yeah, so let's bring the elephant in the room, right? Let's talk about who is eligible for. What are the differences? What are the differences between these three? As you said, there is the last potential scenario is employment for the residence permit for the
Yes, if
employment.
we talk about employment relationship in Hungary.
And why is that? So
Yeah.
why it's different, and why is employment is the worst scenario that you can get?
Yeah, so for the Hungarian card, you need to have a high qualification. So it means a bachelor or master degree, but it's not enough. So with the Hungarian card, you cannot apply with any kind of university degrees, you know. So in the law, it's quite clear that, okay, if you are a professional sportman, if you are a professional coach, for example, you can get also this Hungarian card. And there is also a ministerial statement that states 3 categories in which cases you are allowed to apply for the Hungarian card. Maybe you heard about this list of professions. So one of these
approved ones, yes.
Yeah, one of these category is this: if you have university degree, so bachelor or master degree in the field of IT, engineering, natural science. So in this degree, you can also see the university degrees. They are listed now. I don't know, for example, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering.
Computer science.
Yes, you can also computer science, engineering. But for example, doctors are not included here.
PhD is not included.
PhD is not mentioned. So what is in the degree is bachelor and master degree. This is mentioned. Yeah, this is mentioned in the degree.
Okay, in the degree it's mentioned that people
there are 2 annexes.
Okay, so only the people who finished the bachelor and master's degree in who has this ones.
The specific degrees that are listed
in
there.
The bachelor and master.
Yeah.
The PhD we do not touch PhD if you like.
It's not mentioned. It's not
yeah.
mentioned. So the bachelor is there and also the master is there. And you can see this list. Like if anyone wants to check this degree, also the professions are available in English language, so you can check which university degree you have. And also, it's very important that if you fulfill the position, it needs to somehow fit, to your university degree.
Okay, so you cannot just do the bachelor in computer science and go work in design, right? So it's like they have to be somehow connected. Of
course, the labor authority will check because that part didn't change in the law. That in some cases, the labor authority, you will need the permission of the labor authority to work in Hungary. So they will check, the labor workforce demand, for example, what is the position, what qualification.
The labor authority, you mean, is immigration, is the office, right? Is an immigration
Yeah, they
office.
are also an authority, but so this is a single application procedure.
Yes.
Like if you have a residence permit application, I mean, the third country national will not see maybe behind the scenes like what's happening, but if you submit your application and if you want to work in Hungary, the labor authority, like if you apply for EU blue card, also in the previous system, if you applied for residence permit for employment purposes, not only the immigration authority participated in the procedure, but in general, also the labor authority. In some cases, of course, if your employment doesn't need permit because you are included in this kind of exemptions, then not. But in general, they also participate in this
labor
procedure.
Authority is basically the government, right? So
they are governmental authority, you can say, but they are only responsible for the employment.
So they're checking if there is a need for this position exactly.
For example, the labor authority checked. Also there are some exemptions when the labor authority doesn't need to check the labor market. But the labor authority checks if they find, for example, Hungarian citizen or EU citizen for this kind of position. But of course, the labor authority will check, that if you can fulfill with this university degree that position and how it works. So they will decide on this.
But how's the hiring side, the employer? How are they affected? For example, because as you say, the labor authority, they are approving like the application for residence permit, but
from the employment part.
Yes.
So because they give also an opinion about this, like about not the residence permit application, because the residence permit, or you can say the residence, will be examined by the immigration authority, but what is related to the employment, it will be examined by the labor authority.
Okay, got it. So basically, the people who finish this types of professions or have this kind of bachelor or master's degree, they can apply for the Hungarian card.
Yes, they can apply for the Hungarian card.
And what are the other requirements for applying for Hungarian card?
Yes, actually, they are the most important.
This is the most.
Yeah, the qualification itself, then the position. Like, so for example, if someone wants to work, I don't know, with electrical engineering degree in a kebab store, with the Hungarian card, it will not work,
No, okay.
So, so this is, for example, a very easy example, and also in some cases, for example, the Hungarian card can be important if there is a Hungarian limited liability company and the owner or the managing director of this limited liability company is a third country national, and this third country national does extra work also in the company, then in this case, if he or she fulfills the requirements, can apply for the Hungarian card. But it's also a specific case which is actually relevant for managing directors or owners of the Hungarian companies, limited liabilities companies, for example.
Got it. So this is not really relevant for the
no, but many people, they are interested in this, or maybe it can be important for them, but it's a very specific case.
Okay, got it. So let's maybe talk about the EU Blue Card, and so we touched upon the Magyar cards, right? So and all the people, as I understand, the finance and other administrative, HR administrative things, and even the people who know the foreign languages. For example, the people who specifically work with client support, they know the different languages. They cannot apply for the Magyar card. So for them, the two options left are the EU Blue Card or the work residence employment, the
residence permit for employment purposes.
Yeah, sorry for this. Yeah. So, what are the differences between these two? And
so first, it is also important to point out that the EU Blue Card comes from EU law.
Yes.
It comes from EU directive that it was implemented already before. The Hungarian card is something special, Hungarian residence permit type. But also, like the Hungarian card and also the EU Blue Card, they are really a strong residence permit. Residence permits, if you compare, for example, these two residence permits to the residence permit for employment purposes.
Strong in the meaning of,
for example, family reunification, how to apply for the permanent residence permit.
Yes.
So from this perspective,
yes, they are strong. Yes.
But the EU Blue Card, also you need to have a high qualification. And also in some cases, if you have a specific experience, for I don't know, in the now I don't remember exactly the years, but it's also stated in the law that if you have this kind of experience, then it can be also considered as high qualification. So you will be able to apply for the Hungarian for the EU Blue Card. But also for the EU Blue Card, it is important that you also have to get this minimum amount of income.
Wage, yes.
Yeah. So for the Hungarian card, we don't have this specific rule, but for the EU Blue Card, yes. And for the 2024, now you can say that in general, as I remember, it's 774,000 gross monthly. But for some professions, for example, if you are a nurse, doctor, pharmacist, then it's, as I remember, it's 619.
So lower, right?
Yeah, it's lower.
So this is the
maybe
number.
It's a bit lower, but I mean, in general now, as I remember, 619,000 gross monthly for doctors and 774,000 gross.
So before taxes.
Yeah. It's not net.
Yeah. Okay. So pretty much the EU Blue Card it didn't change so much for the.
It didn't. I mean, actually, it was also before.
It was before, right? And all the rules are, they are it's just because of this new law strictens other residence permits.
Yeah.
The EU blue card is going to be one of the most attractive one, right? One of the most attractive
Actually,
ones.
to be honest, like if you compare now from the position of a third country national,
Yes.
The Hungarian card and the EU blue card. So if the third country national is planning to move to another EU country, then I would say the EU blue card is better, because the EU blue card comes from the EU law. So also after a time, you can, exchange this EU blue card in another member state for another EU blue card, and so on and so on. So from this perspective, the EU blue card is something...
Gives more flexibility to you, right?
Somehow, yes. But of course, I also want to point out, because it's always misunderstanding among the foreigners, that if I have a residence permit for employment purposes in Hungary, or EU blue card, or any temporary residence permit that allows me to work in Hungary, I can just directly go to any other EU country to work without work permit, This is not true.
You have to apply there.
So this is not true. But many third country nationals, they have this misunderstanding that it's EU law, we are in the EU, so the market is also opened for third country nationals, which is not true, because it comes from the EU citizenship that you can get if you are, for example, Hungarian citizen. Then of course the market will be free for you.
So if that is not the case for EU blue card issued in Hungary, then why does it exist? Having this EU blue card, the name EU blue card, which basically does not provide you flexibility, but you can exchange, right? It's easier to exchange.
Of course, you will. Also it's regulated in the directive that you will need to have an offer, or you need to find a job there. So it's not, you just go and then without any job, you just get the EU blue card in another EU country. But because, before that, like if the member states, they started to regulate their own residence permit types, and the EU blue card was something that was, in the EU
universal.
You can say universal for highly qualified persons, like if they are third country nationals in the EU.
Yes.
So this is the idea of the EU blue card, you can say.
Got it. So basically, by acquiring the EU blue card, you're pretty much safe against changes happening in country that you're planning to go, or in the country that you are in. So it's a little bit more stable than the permits that are available at the moment.
Yeah, it comes from the EU directive, as I said, but it's not an EU regulation. So also, of course, the member states, they have to implement the EU directives, and sometimes the directive allows the member states to, for example, adopt other regulations or, stricter, for example. So, of course, you always have to check in each EU country if you want to go there. What is the rule there, how they apply, how they implemented the EU directive there, and so on and so on. But yeah, from this perspective, you can say that the EU blue card, but also the EU residence card, which was the EC permanent residence permit, they cannot be so easily affected by the member states, because it comes from the EU law. So it depends on the EU legislator, and you cannot know. So
what about so highly qualification? It can come from basically two options, right? Either you have acquired the bachelor master degree in university, or you have a certain amount of the years that you worked in the position, or you collected over the years, right? So these are the two types.
I don't want to say something which is not correct, because it's really clearly stated in the EU directive, but it's information and communication technology, I think. So there is also, if you fulfill this requirement for the experience, then it will be also considered as highly qualification. So you will be also able to apply for the EU blue card.
Okay.
Yeah, and also the income is very important, like what you will earn.
So the income and basically what the position, the qualification that you have, right? So meaning you study computer science, or you study design, but they are pretty much, there are not, restrictions about what kind of qualifications we want to accept, right?
Yeah, no. So, for example, if someone has degree in finance or
degree in design or filmmaking, anything.
If they fulfill the requirement for the minimum salary, then EU blue card can work.
Can happen for this, right?
Yeah.
So we covered pretty much the two of them. generally, we will come down for the questions that are very hot in this, like a family reunification. The employment.
Still just one for the residence permit for employment purposes.
Sure thing, yes.
Yeah, because this is very important to know that the name is really the same, but it will not be the same in the new law. So just to make it clear,
residence for the employment, the third type. Yes.
Yeah. Because as I said in the previous law, I think most of the third country nationals who worked, they had this residence permit for employment purposes.
In the previous law, yeah.
And now you can also have, so for example, you have a university degree, but you cannot have Hungarian cards and you cannot have EU Blue Card. This residence permit can work for you, you know?
Yes.
Because, here there is no salary requirement, there is no degree requirement actually. So, I mean, you will not be excluded from this residence permit, but it's also important to say that in the new law, it's also written that there will be, maybe they will adopt, or they can adopt actually, a law on this, that this residence permit can be granted for specific citizens, and also that this residence permit cannot be issued in specific occupations, you know. Until now, as I know today, there is no decree or ministerial statement on this, that it can be granted only for specific citizens
or occupations.
I'm not talking about now the guest worker residence permit, because it's
different.
Different one. For that, they have this list of citizens.
Yes.
So in this case, until now, it is available for everybody. But this residence permit, as I said, is not so favorable for third country nationals. And why? Because you cannot have family reunification with this residence permit. And also you cannot apply for the national residence card, which is, as I said, a permanent residence permit type.
You cannot apply for the national, which is Magyar card, yeah?
No, the national residence card. The permanent one, yeah. If you have this residence permit, and you want to apply for the national residence card
after some time, right?
Yeah, of course, then you cannot. Yeah, for the national residence card with this residence permit, you cannot. And it is also important to mention that, you know, meanwhile you have this residence permit and it's valid, for example, and you are in Hungary, you cannot just exchange, you know, the type of residence permit. So you cannot say that, okay, now for one, I'm here and I don't know, I found a job, I want to apply for the Hungarian card. Meanwhile, you have this residence permit for employment purposes. Because in the law, it's stated that if you have a valid residence permit like this, and also after its expiry, you cannot submit your residence permit application in Hungary, you know?
So this is the very tricky part. So
exactly.
So for example, if I have obtained, I'm finishing the university, the company gives me the offer for the job, and they're providing me this type of residence permit. So after the expiration of this residence permit, meanwhile, I cannot apply for the Hungarian card, and I cannot in Hungary.
In Hungary. You can apply, of course, other type of residence permits, but not in Hungary. So this is the tricky part. And also this residence permit after 3 years cannot be extended, you know.
So 2 years plus 2 years plus 1 year.
One, and after 3 years, you have to submit a new application. So it will be not an extension. And also in the law, it's stated that in this case, there is maximum 40 days before the expiry. If you submit your residence permit application, a new one, so not extension, but for the same residence permit, then you can submit it from Hungary. But otherwise, no.
So after the expiration of your current residence permit for the employment, you have you can apply for the new one in Hungary. You can create the new application in Hungary.
Yes,
for the same.
If you fulfill these 3 years, because you cannot extend anymore.
Yes.
And then yes, you can, but you have to be careful and you have to check these 40 days, you know.
Check the 40 days.
Yeah, because otherwise you will not be able to apply for the same residence permit in Hungary.
One idea that came to my mind before we were talking, because you pointed out in Hungary. What if I still have my valid residence permit for the employment, but I submit the application in embassy in my country for the Hungarian card, we would work. Like, will this?
I mean,
Because
you can.
this sounds like a loophole, because if they say that you cannot apply in Hungary, but you can apply in your
Yeah,
home country.
actually, this is the point. Like in the law, this is only excluded that in Hungary you cannot submit. So this is an important information. It's not about that you cannot apply any kind of residence permits, but it's about like where you can submit your application. I think this is very important information now in the new law. Like what you always have to check: when and where can I submit this type of residence permit.
So, talking about what kind of benefits that give that residence permit, that these three types of residence permit gives us. So, for the third country nationals, it's the least favorable one is this one, is the residence for the employment, because it does not provide the family reunification, and you cannot apply for the permanent residence permit.
For the EU residence card, they will be able to apply.
You can apply for the EU
but
residence.
for the national residence card, no.
You cannot apply.
Yeah, for the national residence card, no.
But for the EU
residence card,
residence card, what are the requirements for the EU residence card?
5 years of legally staying in Hungary, and then they also check like how much you spent outside Hungary. So there are also some requirements for the EU residence card. For the national residence card, it's 3 years. But this is actually a good news for people who have this residence permit for employment purposes, because, the national residence card will be not an option, but the EU residence card can be an option. But of course, the interruption of the stay needs to be checked.
What is the interruption of the stay?
This is what I was talking about now, that for the permanent residence permit, they check like in exact time how many days you spent outside of Hungary, or how many days you could spend outside of Hungary. Otherwise, you will not be able to apply for the permanent residence permit.
Can you give the example how this like?
Now exactly the number I cannot remember, but for the national
example in situation, what kind of situation it can be that they can somehow decline your application because you spend certain amount of days in different countries.
Example, I don't know, for the national residence card, you need to legally stay 3 years.
Yes.
But during these 3 years, you are traveling.
Yes.
And during these 3 years, for example, you stayed outside Hungary more than what the residence permit, this national residence card, requires from you. Mm-hmm. So they will check this, and then it will be an interrupted stay. So the years will be 0, you can say, and then they will count from 0 again. So this is always important for the permanent residence permits. When you apply, that how many days you spent outside Hungary.
Okay, so you cannot spend like the certain amount of days, like 1 year or something different, because it's gonna because
it will be an interrupted stay.
Stay, and then the years, they are going to be like counted from 0, right?
Yeah, of course, in some special cases, if you say that I don't know, it was justified that why you couldn't come back. Then in very specific cases, maybe it can work, but this is the main rule, Okay,
so be careful, right? Check how many days you stay. Yeah. Okay, that's a good information, I would say. Yeah. Okay, got it. So, for example, for the family reunification.
Yeah.
If I submitted my application in the last year according to the previous law, and we have a family living together kind of residence permit, will it be the same when I will extend my current residence permit?
Yeah, so the family reunification residence permit is you have to distinguish if the family member was here or not before 1st of January, you can say. Because of course, if the family member was already here, then you have to check the expiry of her residence card. Then he or she will be fine until that time. And also in the new law, it's written that if someone had a valid family reunification residence permit on 1st of January, and then this person got this residence permit before the end of August this year, then he or she can extend this residence permit. Although, for example, the spouse will renew, or you can, but it's not an extension, according to the new law, but So let's say someone had a student residence permit, and then the family member was here, but now this student needs to have another student residence permit, but this is now will be issued according to the new law. In this case, if the family member was here already, as I said now, with these conditions, then it will be fine. So the family member will be able to extend the residence permit application.
Okay, so got it. So
yeah, but of course, if the residence permit of the spouse,
yes,
let's say the student,
yes,
will be invalid, then it will affect the residence permit of the spouse. I mean, who is the family member?
It's going
here.
to affect, right?
Yeah, of course, because in the family unification residence permit,
it's kind of attached.
They are attached to each other. So it cannot be that the student doesn't have a valid residence permit or not here, but the family unifier or family unification but the spouse with the family member with the family unification is here. So they are attached to each other.
Anyway, like after some time, when one of the family members, they are going to apply for the new residence permit according to the new law. So the family member who has the reunified family, who has the family unification residence permit, they are going to be affected, and they probably will not have the ability to
somehow
reunify.
They will be affected, but like if the family member was already here, then it will be fine, because what is important is the validity of the sponsor. So let's say now the student.
Yes.
Even if he or she has a new residence permit, I mean, according to the new law.
If their spouses are already in Hungary, so they're going to be fine, right? They're going to be fine.
Yeah. They will be fine until the validity of the student. So if the
until the validity of the student.
Yeah, because if the student residence permit will be invalid, then of course the family member also needs to leave Hungary. Because as I said, they are attached to each other,
and then they cannot apply for the family unification, because with the new law, the family unification for students is not available.
Yeah, but I mean, if the PhD student after a time will have, I don't know, researcher residence permit, for example, then with researcher residence permit, the family unification is possible. So just an example. So it doesn't mean that they will not have any option, and also maybe the family member will find a job. So I mean, and then then in this case, okay, the family member will apply for the Hungarian card or EU Blue Card or anything. So I wouldn't say this situation so hard. What is hard situation is for the students who gets the student residence permit according to the new law, and the family member is not here. Because in this case, no option for family unification with student residence permit.
No option at all.
Yeah. So, for example, if someone is PhD student but got the student residence permit according to the new law, and the family member is not here, he or she cannot do anything.
So still options, right? If you have brought your spouses like in Hungary, there's still options.
Yeah, and also if you have a residence permit, your family member is not here, but you have a residence permit that was issued according to the previous law, you can also do family unification with that residence permit according to that previous law. This is still an easy option, you can say, but from the new law, it will be hard and not possible. Right? Yeah.
So the family unification is available only for the Hungarian cards and for EU Blue cards, right?
Yeah, researcher residence permit is also not. But if you want to apply with residence permit for employment purposes, it's not available. Guest worker residence permit is also not available.
It's also not available.
Yeah.
Got it. So, what about the process of application? Did it change much after the new law came into power?
Yes, so what is first important to point out again here is that now in the law, it's written that if someone has a valid residence permit that was issued according to the previous law, but of course then he or she needs to apply for a new residence permit according to the new law because it's expired, then this person has maximum 45 days to submit an application.
45 days.
Yeah, and it can
before
be done
the expiring of the residence.
Yeah. Okay. And it can be done in Hungary electronically through Enter Hungary, so it can be fine. But for people who have gainful activity residence permit, it's also written in the law that they can apply for guest self-employment residence permit. So
what is a guest?
the guest self-employment residence permit, it's actually the same, you can say, like the gainful activity residence permit,
Yes.
but the name changed. But the idea and the rules are very similar.
Yes.
So it means that because if you interpret the law like this, you can see that in their situation, if they want to, for example, they have a gainful activity residence permit, but they want to exchange for, I don't know, Hungarian card. According to these sections, they can of course submit the application, but not in Hungary, because in this section is written that you can submit in Hungary electronically if you apply from a gainful activity residence permit to the guest self-employment residence permit. And there is another section which says that if you had residence permit for employment purposes, the same requirements, like 45 days electronically from Hungary, if you can submit your application, but for residence permits that allow you to work. So namely Hungarian card, EU blue card, residence permit for employment purposes, guest worker residence permit, national card. National card is very specific for Serbian, Ukrainian citizens. But this is the same. So in these two cases, it's just not so easy to submit or change.
I'm losing you. I'm losing you. So here.
Because the rules, as you see, and it's still, we are talking about now about the old residence permits.
Yes.
How you change for the new one.
Yes.
Then if we are in the new system, then you also have to check, like, where can you submit your residence permit applications and how. So that's why I'm saying that in this case, but for example, if someone is here as a student, and he or she has student residence permit according to the previous law, and now he or she wants to have another student residence permit, but according to the new law, it will be fine. He or she can apply for this residence permit in Hungary.
Yes.
So these two types is actually applied for the the gainful activity resident permit holders and the residence permit for employment purposes holders.
Okay, yeah. Got it. For example, I am getting my residence permit for the employment, right? So which do not allow me to be to have a benefits of the Magyar card or to apply for the permanent. What are the options are not clear right now. So you can only it just says that you cannot apply in Hungary, right? You cannot apply for the permanent in Hungary. Or you cannot apply for the different ones in Hungary.
For the national residence card, just because you mentioned the permanent one, you cannot apply with this residence permit.
You cannot apply at all?
You cannot at all, yeah, for the national residence card. But for the EU residence card, there is no exclusion.
Yes.
So you can apply.
You can apply for EU blue card from the residence permit of the employment. You can apply easily to the EU blue card, like
EU residence card. The EU blue card is a temporary residence permit.
But you cannot change it from one temporary to another temporary. Can you do this?
In Hungary, you cannot. For the EU blue card, you cannot change in Hungary, because it's another type of temporary residence permit, and it's written in the law that if you have this residence permit for employment purposes, and even if it's valid or not valid, but you cannot submit a new type of application in Hungary.
Okay, yeah. Got it. So anything that is temporary, you cannot apply in Hungary. So basically, if you have a residence permit for the employment, you cannot apply in Hungary for another temporary one.
No. I mean, with these guest worker types of residence permits, you cannot exchange in Hungary. So that's why it's very tricky. So if once you get this kind of residence permit, it will be not so easy to exchange.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's also not so favorable, you can say. So it's not like the Hungarian card or the EU blue card.
So, for example, if I change my employer, if I change my company, right? If I change my company
you have to apply for extension in that case. So if you have this residence permit for employment purposes, and you exchange or you change your employer, for example,
yes.
Or I don't know, your workplace.
Yes.
I mean, the place of work, not the employer only, but the place of work. It's changed. Then you have to apply for extension.
The place of work. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, because you work in Budapest, but then you will work in Debrecen.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's totally different place of work.
And you have to
You have to apply. It's written in the law that you have to
extension.
apply for extension. Yeah, which means
only 1 year.
This is what I want to say. That which means that if from the first application you cannot reach more than 3 years, because 3 years is the maximum, even if you extend more times.
Yes.
So in this case, once you don't have any options for the 3 years, then you have to apply for a new application. This is how it will go.
Okay, so
you have to check when you want to change your work, if you really want to change your work, because then you have to apply always for extension.
Mm-hmm. So
actually it makes the third country nationals, if you think about this, to be stuck, or it's better to be with one employer, you can say, because then you get the residence permit, then you are with you can say for 1 or 2 years, 3 years with one employer, and that's it. But if you change, I don't know, after half a year all the time, and you apply for extension.
So extension, it's only 1 year. Option for extension is only 1 year, right? So for example, if I work in the company so I will have my residence permit for employment for 2 years, right? When I apply, I will
they give it for you to 2 years. So the maximum can be for 2 years, but maybe they give it for you to 1 year.
For 1 year,
it depends. Yeah, it can be also 1
but
year.
Yeah, let's say 2 years, and I decided to change my employer or change my workplace. But it can be the same employer, but it can be the different workplace as well.
Yeah, because then the competent labor authority, everything is changed.
Everything is changed.
Even the immigration authority. Yeah.
And if I change my employer or change my circumstances, I have to apply for the extension, not the new case not the new residence permit for residence permit for employment.
Yeah.
For the extension of the same one.
Yeah.
And
you can do this up to 3 years only. So, for example, if you have this residence permit,
when do you mean up to 3 years?
Max, because if you have for 2 years, you get it. You apply for the first time for this residence permit. Yes. You get it for 2 years. Then after that, you say, okay, I want to change my work. So I have a new employer. Okay, I will apply for an extension. It means that you will able to apply only for 1 year.
Yes.
So you will not be able to have more. And when you finish this, then after that, you have to apply for a new residence permit application again.
Okay.
So it will not be considered as extension. So technically, you will have to submit as a new application, not as an extension.
But this is a lot more paperwork. I mean, it's also a lot more paperwork.
Yeah, and also you have to check, as I said, this 40 days requirement, and it's like this.
So you're going to basically, you're pretty much stuck in this loop of changing your residence permit.
I think also they somehow maybe want to restrict that you change your workplace that much if you have this kind of residence permit,
But this really comes down to the ability of because you're still in Hungary. I mean, it doesn't change so much. It doesn't really, because you pay taxes and stuff. It doesn't really change so much. Why make such?
I think if you check this residence, the new residence permits, for example, the Hungarian Card, yes. Many people, they are asking why these professions or degrees.
Yes.
And why? Because if you see, Hungary has lack of professions or employees in this kind of fields,
yes.
Like IT, engineer, natural science, and that's why, for example, I don't know, economy or finance, it's not there maybe.
Yes.
Of course, I cannot say 100% sure, but if you see, there is also logic in the Hungarian card, why these certain professions were listed, you can say. The EU Blue Card is a different category because it's EU law. So there you have to apply the EU rules, you can say, EU directives. But with the Hungarian card, you can, because it's in your competency, you can regulate it as you want or as you need from the perspective of Hungary. Because, of course, it's also a justified need, if you think about this, that if there is a country and they are in need of specific professions, they will, of course, support these fields, yes. I think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How long are we talking? Something like 55 minutes. if you're a fresh graduate or if you are, so when you, it's better to ask your employer or for the EU blue card, right? So like, I mean for the employer, for the international companies, you know,
Yeah.
that have offices here, it's a little bit it's more expensive to, you know, hire the lawyer, because I know that they have some companies, they have the professions that are not in the list of the professions for the Magyar card. Yeah? People who know some languages, people who have some certain types of specifications, but are not IT field. Are there going to be any, you know, whole changes in the law that will somehow include this type of people? You know, because not all Hungarians, they know Portuguese. Not all Hungarians, they know Russian language. Not all the Hungarians know the know other
Yeah, sure.
languages.
I of course I cannot know if there will be any amendment because especially now because it's a new law. So
Yes.
of course you can see that there are some mistakes in the in or I don't know, probably it was accidentally, like for example the Hungarian card. If we mentioned Hungarian card, and there in the ministerial statement it's written that foreign degrees, you know.
Yes.
Of course the third country national students or even employees, they were shocked, you know, that we came here, for example, with Stipendium Hungaricum. It's very common scholarship among the foreigners, third country nationals in Hungary. We studied here bachelor, master. We don't have our degree from our home country, for example, and we cannot apply for the Hungarian card. How? So, and also later on, I also got this information. So this is my latest information. You can say that for the Hungarian card, also the Hungarian degrees will be accepted. So not only the foreign qualifications.
So Hungarian will help.
Yeah. So if you have a Hungarian degree,
in the IT or in the engineering, it will be accepted.
Yeah, it will be fine. But of course, in the ministerial statement, so if you interpret the law very strict, then it's foreign qualification which is written.
Yes.
So that's why I'm saying that, of course, it's a new law. It's a very huge law. Everything changed. People were working on this new law as well, and also they had consultations in the ministry and everything. But it's a very big codex, you know.
Yes.
So there may be some mistakes, or maybe some things accidentally. They didn't think about things deeply, and now they have to maybe amend later this new law. We cannot know. Yes. But of course, after the practice, so from time to time, when especially the immigration authority will have its practice, then everybody will see this.
So it's better for the students and people who working in the companies, international companies here in Budapest or in the Hungary, to ask, because they certainly want to protect their rights, right? They certainly want to somehow have a clear understanding of their future. So and basically the residence permit for the employment does not provide such opportunity, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. That's true.
Unfortunately.
According to the current law.
According to the current law. And for them, is the best, the smartest thing to do is to ask your employer for the EU blue card, or
as I said, it depends. So if there is a third country national and he or she is planning to move later on, I don't know, after like 1 or 2, you can say 2-3 years, for example, to another EU country, then of course the EU blue card can be better than a Hungarian card. But of course the Hungarian card can give you within Hungary the same benefits, you know. You can do reunification, as I said, national residence card can work. So but from this perspective, if someone is thinking about moving to another EU country, then EU blue card can be a better option.
Let's talk about the cultural exam.
Yeah.
How the cultural exam works and where it's included, by the way.
So first, it was also very shocking for third country nationals. I remember because this decree, in where you can see this or you can read about this cultural knowledge exam, originally it was planned also for the Hungarian card. Which is, from my point of view, is not so appropriate because, you know, we are talking about a temporary residence permit. So if we are talking about a temporary residence permit and we ask this cultural knowledge exam, which is, of course, it's not the same level like for the Hungarian citizenship, but I think it's not appropriate, you know, for a temporary residence permit.
Yes.
this, I think, from my point of view, for the permanent residence permits, because now, according to the new law, it will be obligatory for applicants if they apply for the national residence card or
Which is permanent.
Yeah, only for the permanent
so
residence
culture
permits.
exam is only for the
Permanent residence permits, yeah.
But it was planned to include
for the Hungarian card.
Okay, but now it's not. Okay,
No, it's not. It's
hopefully, okay, guys, hopefully.
It's not. It's not. Because, in the law, they say that it's a social integration requirement. So this is why we have the culture knowledge exam. But actually, it will be only from the 1st of January, 2025. So from now, still no. But of course, we don't know how it will be the practice.
Yes.
We don't know the exam, but we know what can be the topics in the exam, because also in the decree, it's listed, in some points. Just some example, for example, the Hungarian symbols, the history of Hungary,
a little bit of history.
The basic institution in the basic law, for example, government.
Is it going to be held in Hungarian language?
Yeah, the exam will be in Hungarian language, and you can try only 3 times. After that, you cannot.
3 times. Is there the period, after the first attempt? You have to wait, or is there
No, this is just written that you can try 3 times. And after that, you cannot try it again. So yes, so it's something that you really have to take it serious.
Yes.
And the exam is in Hungarian language, as I said, and it's written exam. And you have to apply for this exam at Budapest Főváros Kormányhivatala.
Yes.
So we will see how it will go.
But if you apply for the permanent residence permit before January 2025, you do not have to take
No, because
culture.
it's written that it's only from 2025.
Okay, that's
so it's
okay.
Until now, and according to the law today,
yes,
it's 2025.
Okay.
January. Yeah,
got it.
Yeah, and also if you, of course, now it will not be applied, but for later, after years when there will be practice. So if someone already took this exam and it was successful, then in this case, he or she doesn't need to do it again, if he or she applies for another permit. For example, if someone takes this exam and it's successful for the national residence card, but later on he or she wants to apply for the EU residence card. So then in this case, because he or she passed the exam for the national residence card, then it doesn't need to be retaken again.
Okay.
And also in some cases, if the national residence card is issued according to the Hungarian interest, like economical interest, the sport interest, and also you can have this easy option that you don't have to take this exam.
Maybe the reasons of rejecting we didn't really cover.
The rejection, it can be very different, So actually, for example, if someone, we can still mention. So for the rejection, one reason, which is maybe can be very common, or at least the third country nationals, they think that if someone comes here with a visa, and they want to submit the residence permit application in Hungary, because anyhow I'm here, why not, right? But this is not correct. So if someone needs a visa and not visa-free citizen, then he or she is not allowed to submit the residence permit application for the first time in Hungary. You have to do it in the country of your citizenship, for example. So it's something that always sometimes it's also a big reason why the residence permit can be rejected.
There must be a reason why you're staying here in Hungary, basically, right? So if you came here with
for example, someone comes here with Schengen visa for 90 days maximum, and he or she is thinking like, okay, anyhow I'm here. It's so easy, right, to go to the immigration authority and just submit. But it doesn't work like this. Of course, if someone is from a visa-free country, for example, US citizen, Canadian, then it's a different case. Then they can submit the residence permit application in Hungary. And also in the new law, you always have to check, as we discussed this before, like if you can submit the residence permit application from Hungary or not. Because in the new law, it's also stated that in which cases you are allowed to submit your residence permit application in Hungary.
Yes.
So it's always very important, because if you don't check this requirement, then you might get rejection. You will get rejection. Actually. Yeah.
Got it. So as per my understanding, like in the previous law, there was such residence permit which is called like self-employed residence permit or
In gainful activity.
gainful
Yeah.
activity. This is pretty much the self-employed, right?
Yes, self-employment now.
And
Yeah.
did it change drastically according to the new law? Because I remember you mentioned something, but I wasn't really.
So actually, the rules are, you can say, same, but it will be also a kind of guest worker residence permit, because it will be the same, that after the time you cannot extend,
Yes,
and also you can
you bring your family with this
after 1 year.
after 1 year?
After 1 year, so not directly.
And is there a reason why is it 1 year?
It is written after 1 year. If you have guest work, if you have a residence guest self-employment residence permit, then you can do family reunification. Guest self-employment residence
Guest self-employed,
yeah.
which is
it was the
for
gainful
purpose,
activity.
gainful
so if
activity,
someone
right.
wants to be sole entrepreneur, then this
Yes.
will be the residence permit for them.
And it's pretty, the conditions. There are there like requirements for getting this one?
No, I mean, you can say it's the same, but what became like stricter is the extension, or when you can submit, because also during this expiry, or during the validity of this residence permit, you will also not be able to apply or submit any residence permit application in Hungary. So it's very similar
Yes.
to the residence permit for employment purposes, also to the guest worker residence permit from this perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. But the verification is available after 1 year. Yeah.
Is available
But
after.
also national residence card, no.
You cannot apply for the
For the
national
national
residence.
residence card, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. It is a little bit overwhelming, probably the information that we have discussed today, but it is what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the reality that we have to face, and I'm sure that people who are watching now us, they probably think, oh my God, I cannot stay in Hungary. I cannot. There are so many restrictions. There are so many boundaries they're putting on us, and they don't want us here, right? It's just, if we look from the perspective of the government, perspective of the country, right?
Yeah.
They're doing what they can in their own interest, right? So like, and we are here as people, the expats who are here to work, to develop ourselves. I mean, the life doesn't stop there, I would say. I mean, I don't want to disencourage people that they cannot work here. I mean, there are going to be, I guess, the options for you. Always there are options for you. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So as we discussed, okay, for example, the residence permit for employment purposes is not the best option.
Yes.
But like if you look to the future plans, the EU residence card will be an option, even if the national residence card is not an option.
Yes.
Just one example. But also for EU Blue Card, it's also a good option, of course. So also the Hungarian card, if you are IT, if you work in IT engineering and so on and so on. So there are options. But of course, what I see is that you have to be very well qualified.
Yes.
This is something is important.
That is important. So if you are not if you did not reach some kind of qualification in your field, then then probably there is no supply for you. There are no jobs for you. So what are you going to do here? So be the professional. Be the person who the company is looking for.
Yeah.
So just first of all, focus on building your qualifications, building your portfolio, building your So getting the job done, and then think about then look for the options, because I'm certainly sure maybe not in Hungary, but maybe in other EU countries. Obviously, makes a little bit difficult, the process, but obviously, if you're professional, they're going to be work for you. Pretty much, we covered the basics here. But thank you, Alexandra, for coming here today.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you can say some outro words or some.
Yeah, actually,
encouraging words.
I think it's really important from the new law perspective that qualification, because I think if you are really qualified, or if you have an experience which is really very good in the Hungarian labor market, then you will have good chances. But I think it's logical in every other country. Of course, they try to support the qualified people, and yeah, if they have disqualifications, then they will be fine.
They're gonna be fine,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
See you guys. All right.
Thank you.